One, tell me about what your experience was at Fashion Week.
It was like just thinking about it. It's just great. It was a great experience. I always say it was chaos, but it was beautiful chaos.
Yeah.
It was so chaotic, but it's like this is what I was born for. Being in that space, I always told myself I wasn't going to do Fashion Week unless it was New York.
Oh my God, is that the faces of the future?
Yo, it's your boy Myles. Welcome to an all-new episode of the Faces of the Future podcast. We got Avee Charles in the building. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain. It's the weekend, so, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, try to get some sleep still.
Yeah, you been ripping and running around or what?
I say yes and no because I still have a job also.
Yeah.
So it's kind of my rest weekend at the same time.
Yeah, what do you do for the daytime? Like, what's your other job that you have?
So I do lead merchandising.
Okay.
So I'm a contractor for stores. So
How long you been doing that?
I will say the lead merchandising position I recently just got, but I've been doing merchandising for about, I'll say 3 years now. I started with H&M.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's like the process to get like a lead merchandising role? Do you have to like climb up the ladder? You just start in like retail? What's that like?
Honestly, it's quite funny. My brand experience is what got me the position as a merchandiser in general. But now it really is just like building, just knowing fashion trends, understanding sales, floor plans, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So was that something like you always wanted to be in? Because I was read somewhere you started like sewing at age 6, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what got you into that? Like, tell me a little bit about that. Like, as a child, like, what navigated you to, I guess, like the fashion space? What got you into like sewing?
Oh, okay. So it's a long story, so I'm gonna try to make it brief. So I started sewing, as you said, at the age of 6. My great grandmother, well, I call her grandma, she was a huge inspiration when it came to seamstress and sewing making, but it also ran on my dad's side.
Okay.
My grandmother, she basically made my aunt's wedding gown back in Jamaica. So it's like I couldn't run from the calling when it came to sewing.
Yeah.
It was in both sides of the family. Growing up, I used my mother's weave needle thread, like that she would use for her hair.
Yeah.
And I took it and I started sewing clothes for my brat dolls.
Okay.
And she was so proud and so annoyed at the same time because this was for her hair.
Right.
I wasn't supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
But when she saw that, she basically told my great grandmother. My great grandmother took me under her wing, started teaching me how to sew and all that good stuff. And here I am.
Yeah, so you're 6 years old. You learn how to sew and all that type of stuff. So when did you like shift into like, yo, I want to create my own stuff? Was it like early childhood, like middle school? Like when did that start?
Honestly, I will say it was in and out for me. So I was a very creative child. I'm just, when it comes to inspiration, it comes from everywhere, from music to what I watched, the TV shows. So anything I saw, I like absorbed it like a magnet. At one point, I was a musical theater kid.
Really?
So
Yeah.
like I was just in and out. At first, it was always fashion. But then at one point, I started getting to the fine arts, and I did the U Arts program, I'll say when I was like 8-10 years old. It was like a summer program I did for U Arts for fine arts. Then went back into fashion around like middle school. Then I started getting into musical theater. I'll say I didn't officially realize I wanted to be in fashion till around high school.
Okay.
And my mother put me in Chad Charter High School Architect and Design. She's like, no, you need to be in design. Because I swear I was going to be a music girl. I swear I was going to be the next SZA at the time.
So you got vocals, Loki?
A little bit. I used to
it.
do like background vocals for like some of my friends who are artists and rappers and stuff like that. So I was all over the place.
Okay, so now you're put into like the special school for like designs and art. So what was it like? Is like the curriculum like a normal like high school where you're learning math, science, or is it a mix of both?
When I say Chad, and when I say a lot of greatness have came from Chad, from my grandmother to Chad, I really owe it all to them. From a lot of people don't know, Quinta actually is an alumni from
Really?
Yes, from Chad. DJ Nash, Quill Lemons, like Tia, like it's a lot of us in the industry who came from Chad. When I say they equipped us, they were not playing. So I will say a 93, if I'm not mistaken, was considered a B in our school.
Really?
Yeah, so it was a charter school, and it was funded by privately funded from architectures and designs. One of our professors, one of our teachers, he owned a company back in the United Kingdom, and he came over to teach us. Mr. Melville, we loved him dearly. Mr. Reingold, he showed us architecture. They really trained us. We were making things light up when I was say for our senior project. So we had to design a dress and make it light up.
Really?
That was our senior
In
project.
high school?
Yes.
So what? So is it like a solo project? You like a team or like
Solo.
solo?
It was solo.
So what
yes.
what was the dress that you developed?
So it was based on ice and snow. And it was like a snow globe, and I made it light up with blue. So it was a bandeau. It was puffy. Basically, it mimicked a snowman, but it was a dress.
Yeah.
And it was blue lights, all the other stuff. My first collection I designed was based on the animal kingdom,
Yeah.
leopard, zebra, all that stuff. But it was also based on, the silhouette was based on like the Roaring 20s, Harlem Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the stuff, I was learning tech packs in 10th grade.
Yeah.
So this was stuff I was doing very, very early.
Can you explain like what the tech pack is for the people that don't know what that is?
So a tech pack is usually called a tech pack or a CAD, or a MOQ, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, that is what manufacturers use to see how they're going to stitch it, placement of stitching, the sizing, and even if you have like graphics, that's what it's used for also.
So is that like a thing? Like say you're making a collection, and you will put a tech pack and send it to the people that are actually like stitching and sewing your stuff if you're not doing it yourself?
Yes, so that's actually what I was doing with Shein for 3 years.
Really?
Yes.
So let's talk about that a little bit. How'd you get that opportunity with them?
So once again, like I said, Chad.
Chad, yeah.
Yeah, my friend of mine, and she's also doing her big one too. She's a business entrepreneur, and she basically sent it to me. She's like, "Don't tell nobody. It's this app called Creatively." And she sent me it. She's like, "I think you're gonna get in." Because by the time the Shein situation had already happened, I already was an independent designer. I'll say for about 3 years,
Right.
like doing stuff locally with influencers and stuff like that. She's like, "I think you're gonna get it." When I say they responded back in a week,
Really?
and they was like, "Oh yeah, you're in." I was like, I never forget. I was driving the car with friends, and it was like a FaceTime call. And I just got the email, "You're accepting." I just started screaming. And my friend, she swerved on the highway, like, "What is wrong?" I was like, "I got in." And from there, it was basically ball game. But for 3 years, I was basically making a tech pack of designs and sending it to Shein for the manufacturers.
Yeah. So that was like your entry point. I know you said you had the connections and things of that nature, but like say there's like a young fashion designer that wants to like kind of follow the path that you're going in. Is it something where they just need to just continue to like submit stuff to get noticed? Like how do you think they should approach, I guess, like a big brand like that?
So, one, be very aware of I'll say your social media presence. I believe because of how I did my campaigns and my rollout, even though I was only like 18, I'll say 18 to 20, 21 at the time,
Yeah.
before I even got signed to Shein, I was still very aware because previous education from my high school of how to, present yourself and position yourself as a brand. And that means a lot in social media. So I think at that time frame, making sure your social media is technically your portfolio.
Yeah.
So being very strategic when it comes to posting and campaigns and your collections and the people who you have wearing yourself, that all matters when it comes to positioning yourself for brands and for partnerships.
So what's your approach to like picking people to like rep your brand, whether it be like doing collaborations like influencers or who you actually pick to be in your campaigns to put on the socials?
So this is actually funny. It's something I'm going through now. I basically had to rebrand my brand twice. So I will say this is my this will be my second rebrand, however, my third consumer profile. Like I said, first starting, I was really just local with influencers. I'll say it was from like Atlanta to New York. And some in North Carolina was my target audience during the time frame before I got to Shein. And then I would say that would be a little bit more urban, and a little bit more streetwear, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Going into Shein, I had to study their consumer profile and understanding that a majority of the buyers from their customers were probably about, I'll say, ages 16 to 19, non-minorities. They love, pastels, bright colors, simple silhouettes. So I had to kind of rebrand to gain the attraction with Shein consumers, and it worked.
Yeah.
But I really had to target like out of state, islands, UK, and like I said, it worked. But now I'm going back to, I guess you can say, square one. But now being about to be 28, knowing who I am as a person and as a brand now I'm shifting the target audience back to, well, not back to, now to like 24, 32, a little bit more business, casual, contemporary, ready to wear. So it's really just about understanding your consumer, when it comes to brand positioning as well as influencer. And once you understand your brand, then it's easier to target what type of influencer you want to rep your brand. Like I'm a neo soul girl, hip hop girl, gospel girl.
Yeah.
So when it comes to certain influencers, it's no shade or nothing, but if you have a different type of background, or if you're trap rap or if you're rock, that really doesn't reflect my brand. So it doesn't really help the target audience.
Yeah.
So making sure, does this influencer or this collaboration make sense with your consumer profile and your end goal as a brand?
No, that makes sense. So when it comes to like the neo soul aspect, like what inspired you? Is just being in Philadelphia, or like what inspired like the neo soul, I guess, interest?
So I'm first generation American. My dad is Jamaican, and my mother, she's an author. So growing up, it's so funny. Growing up, I had the privilege. I was very young to go in poetry clubs. My mother used to sell books, and she used to do like speakeasies and say poetry. Mind you, right after church, my mother would take me to like a poetry slam, and they'd be playing Erykah Badu and India Arie. Yeah. Like at one point, I believe I was like 8 years old, and I met Salt and Pepper, the rappers.
Really?
Yes, and I sold them a shirt from my mother. Met people like Fred Hammond and Todd Tribbett, because this is what my mother was doing in the background. So being in this atmosphere of poetry clubs and stuff, being so young, this was just the music I was consuming, like Music Soul Child and Maxwell. This is the music I was hearing growing up. Right. So that really inspired me. And then seeing what the women was wearing in the environments, and even down to like the shows I was watching, like Girlfriends and Living Single and Different World, all came back into my creative approach, I guess you could say.
So when you say your creative approach, do you like see yourself, like when you're watching like Girlfriends, you're watching these artists on stage, do you envision yourself like designing things for them to wear on stage or on set or on like shows?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would say most recently, the His and Hers collection that's out now, I was watching A Thin Line Between Love and Hate with Martin Lawrence. And I also was watching, every now and then I binge watch A Different World. I have to stop. And it's a great show.
I'm not mad at you, but that's a great show.
And I was binge watching A Different World, and I was seeing like Whitley's outfits, and I was getting inspired off of those two shows and movies. I was like, how can I translate this into a modern time? Right. So that's what it always kind of comes back to. But from the music to the aesthetic, that helps me when it comes to the delivery of my campaign. Yeah. Like it's going to be a 90s base. This is how I'm going to deliver it. But as far as the actual silhouette, I always try to modernize it so it can reflect to today's consumer.
I know you're talking about like a lot about neo soul, like the 90s, early 2000s era, things of nature. What's like your, outside of that, I guess, what's your favorite era of fashion? And like, how do you plan to like modernize it if you haven't done it yet?
So I did, at one point it was the 80s, well, the 70s. I won't say the 80s. The 80s was crazy. So it was a lot of prints. Yeah. I would say the 70s. And it was called the Groovy Kids. Mm-hmm. And the Groovy Kids campaign, that was back then like 2020 or 2021. It was a spring collection. And that was actually our first publication that we got from that campaign. It was the Groovy Kids, and it was Voyage Miami. So we actually got our first publication from that. But now looking back, I will honestly say the Harlem Renaissance, really? Like the 20s to the 30s. I watch movies with Dorothy Dandridge, Sidney Poitier. Yeah, like I'm one of Marilyn Monroe, because this is stuff I grew up watching. Yeah. Like my grandparents also had a hold on me when on raising me. So watching stuff like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof with Elizabeth Taylor with my grandmother, and even down to my great grandmother, I still have fur coats from the time frames that she was, know, she was alive and rocking them. So I will honestly say the Roaring 20s. I'm an old soul.
Yeah, that's good. That's good though. I mean, like, because when it comes to, I guess your approach, you probably have that old soul approach too as well, as opposed to like the modern day approach where it's like, all right, I'm just gonna get something out. Mm-hmm. and push whatever trends going on, as opposed to like I'm gonna take my time with it, like put my love into actually the creation that I'm making, that type of thing. Would I be kind of accurate when it comes to that?
No, that's actually, it's funny that you said that. I will say about 2 years ago, it's very easy to get caught up in it. Yeah. Like I said, old school, not even just with my approach of creativity, but even old school way of marketing. And the way I'm marketing now and the way I'm building my brand, it may take longer, but the end goal is longevity. Like the end goal is to be a household name. Yep. So it's going to take a little bit longer, and I had to remember that. And now when coming back to it, it's like, oh, old school equals longevity, because even though with social media and trends, yeah, it's easy to get caught up, and I got caught up at one point, like I'm not gonna lie. But I'll say having that Shein opportunity, I was able to sit down, reflect, and not only understand, just take my time with the creative aspect, but actually take my time with marketing and how to build the foundation of my brand.
Right.
So I'm happy, like I'm really thankful that the things I desired back then, like the brand to pop off, lights, camera, action, I'm happy it didn't happen, because it would have failed.
Yeah, yeah.
It would have failed. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I've owned my brand for 7 to 8 years, but I'll always say, I don't know what I was doing to the last 3.
Right.
So I will say, when it comes to the old school soul, I thank God for, you know, my family, my grandparents, and even my professors and mentors who are also like of that age, of that old school generation when it comes to marketing, taught me that slow pace is the best pace, especially in this industry, because it's so oversaturated and things come in and out. As the song was, the Drake song, Pound Cake, you know, oh my God, what did they say? He's like, oh yeah, all that other stuff is going today and tomorrow, but it's going to last. And that applies with fashion also.
100%. And when it comes to like the fashion aspect, I always like to ask people that are in this industry, like, how do you feel about just like the current trends, or just like the copy and paste that you see from brand to brand, and like the less individuality that you know, it's kind of sometimes hard to decipher like who's who just based on the same cuts that they might have, or just the same type of prints, or even just the fonts that they use on certain things. Like, what do you feel about like the current state?
It's a chess game. This industry is a chess game. And I think what's so dangerous as creatives and entrepreneurs in the fashion industry, you should not get caught up in the trends, and you should not get caught up in what the people want also. So I was taught owning a brand is 80% business and 20% creativity. And I will say in the last 3 years, I finally understood that 20% and diving back. I'm just now getting back to the creative aspect, like come for the fall. But when it comes to that, I really think we need to sit down as entrepreneurs and creatives and understand the business of it, and understand why it's not healthy for your brand, like if we're speaking long term, because the copy and paste is going to come in and out.
Yeah.
It like, people are going to be inspired by you. Inspiration is going to come, but what makes your brand your brand?
Right.
Like, what makes you stand out from other people? Yeah, a bunch of people are going to do this trend, this silhouette, this font.
Yeah.
However, how is this going to help you in the long run? Because at the end of the day, you should never really base your brand off of a trend or off of what people want, because what people want is based on emotions, and that's never going to be stable. Trends are never going to be stable.
Always going to be up and down.
It's always going to be up and down. And copying somebody, it's not going to help you, because riding a wave, sooner or later the wave is going to go down. So what you going to do? Ride the next wave?
Exactly.
And then once people realize you're not really authentic, they going to like start doing a little pushback. So I think as designers right now, my personal opinion, I think we really just need to get back to the business aspect of it first. And I think once we understand the actual business aspect and the foundation of how to run a brand, how to do the actual design process, because there's a process when it comes to designing a collection, then we can really start making sure our creativity translate into the business plan of our companies, is what I will say.
No, that makes sense. So you talk about like creating your first collection. So tell me about your first collection. You talked about square one earlier. So square one of starting Aveeation, like what was that approach to your very first collection? You say you know a lot more now than you did then. So tell me about that first time.
So it's actually funny. My very first collection of Aveeation is actually not posted on Instagram.
Really?
It's not posted. But I was in college at the time. I was about 18 when I decided to launch the brand, but I didn't execute it until I was, say, 19. I didn't know what I was. We was a bunch of kids just trying to build our portfolios in college at the time. Right. So I'll say the design aspect, I thought it was just a quick get a needle and thread and stitch. And I'm not going to lie, it was cute, but it was a mess at the same time, because the structure was just it was everywhere. I would say now, I always understood a campaign. Like, I always understood how to visually do a layout. But now looking back, that first collection, I sketched it, basically used my midterm as a way to create my actual brand. Yeah. It's like, you have to make, like, illustrate a collection for the midterms. Me, okay, I'll just do this do it for the brand.
Yeah.
Two birds
Do it
with
for
one
the brand.
stone. Two birds, one stone to get it out the way. But now looking back, it was a hot mess. I didn't even try. Like
Not even try.
I didn't even try. I think I'm not gonna beat up on myself. I think it was very interesting stepping in. It kind of laid the foundation of me understanding I was a ready to wear brand, a contemporary brand, without even understanding what that fully was at the time.
What is contemporary? Because I know like your slogan or whatever it is this culture's contemporary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean, and what is contemporary?
So contemporary ready to wear is basically this. So what I'm wearing right now is actually from the His and Hers collection.
Okay.
These jeans is actually from Shein,
Okay.
like from my Shein collection. So ready to wear is basically the clothes that people will wear every day. The clothes that you can wear outside to work, or you can also wear to brunch. Basically, it's a versatile category of clothing
Okay.
where you can wear every day, which is why they're pushing sustainability at the time right now, so that if it's ready to wear and we're wearing it every day, we need to make sure it lasts. So that's technically what ready to wear is. It's simplistic silhouettes that can translate from work, business to just every day, going to the park somewhere, going to brunch.
What was your like, I guess, your thought process of going into that lane of fashion as opposed to like a different lane?
So growing up, I was always like, I soaked in entertainment and media like a sponge.
Yeah.
106 in Park, MTV. Like, if you had cable and I came to your house, I was on demand Comcast watching music videos. That's just how I was.
Yeah.
But growing up, I noticed, like Baby Fat, FUBU, Sean John, and all these other brands, Rockaware. I realized they was considered street brands.
Yeah.
And when they're streetwear, it's because we're black.
Yeah.
That's why they're calling it streetwear. But I noticed, however, brands like Ralph Lauren, Polo, Michael Kors, and all these other brands, they're technically American contemporary brands, but I also see them on the same public figures. I see them on I'm seeing Kanye, I'm talking Kanye when he was with Dave Chappelle's show. Like, I'm
Yeah.
seeing him rock the Ralph Lauren and the Polo,
Polos,
but
yeah.
I'm also seeing him Rockaware. But when we talking longevity, how come this brand is lasting longer and the other brand isn't?
Right.
So I took heed of that at a very young age. Like, I'm seeing Michael Kors at Ross, TJ Maxx, and on celebrities, but I'm not seeing Rockaware and Baby Fat. It's on selective people.
Yeah.
So I think now being where I'm at, I realize it's a different strategy when it comes to contemporary. It's more of catering to everybody in every different class of I guess you can say, of finances and just class of people,
Yeah.
rather than just focusing your brand on an influencer or a public figure. It doesn't help it give it, as I guess you can say, stability for the long goal.
You said you were in college when you made your first collection. What did you go to, like a fashion school as well?
Yes. So I had a very interesting college.
She took a deep breath.
I had a very interesting college experience. So my first college, it was a good college. I met some cool people, but it didn't challenge me as a designer. So at that time, it's like, I need to go somewhere else. It was time to go somewhere else. And like I said, I was making dresses light up for freaking senior project in high school.
Yeah.
And like you're teaching me how to learn the tech pack. I already know how to do this. I'm
Yeah.
not, like,
Yeah.
it's not really much for me. So then I transitioned to another school. Things happened. So I went to the Art Institute. The Art Institute closed down. I said, I'm going to take a break. I'm tired.
Yeah.
It was just too much. It was too much at the time. So I ended up transitioning at the Art Institute. And the Art Institute is what taught me the business aspect, because that's actually where I majored in for fashion merchandising.
Okay.
And it taught me the business aspect, having classes like psychology of fashion and all this other stuff, buyer's perspective, really opened my eyes to what being a contemporary brand is. And now I'm finishing up at Parsons finally for my business degree.
So it's been a little bit of a journey.
It's been a little bit of a journey, but I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like usually when people take a college break, they're taking a break and they're not doing nothing.
Yeah.
But during the college break, I accomplished so much, like building a brand, having a collaboration with Shein, and being able to have a successful collaboration leading to media and publications. So it's like, okay, God does things strategically and in order. So I'm very thankful for it. But Yeah, it was an interesting college journey.
Yeah, I've seen you in a few different publications and just like big fashion like platforms, whether it be New York Fashion Week, whether it be
Yeah.
British Vogue recently.
Yeah.
One, tell me about what your experience was at Fashion Week.
It was like just thinking about it, it's just great. It was a great experience. I always say it was chaos, but it was beautiful chaos.
Yeah.
It was so chaotic, but it's like this is what I was born for. Being in that space, I always told myself I wasn't going to do Fashion Week unless it was New York. Because, like I said, I always understood positioning your brand in the correct way. So when I did that, I was like, okay, I was very strategic about it too. I was not playing no games. I said, okay, first of all, New York Fashion Week is nothing but a big PR moment. It's a PR moment. And I think we kind of lost that, but that's another conversation. And I said, okay, now I'm in New York Fashion Week. How I'm about to do this, how I'm about to position my brand. But being in the midst of that, having people with French accents curse people out and and just being able to like just be in that atmosphere, it's like this is what I've been waiting for. People from Milan who's there and like all overseas, being able to talk to Elle magazine. It was such a beautiful experience. And I think also it just reminded me that all the work, like the fruits of my labor, has finally paid off. And it's I didn't even hit chapter 1 yet. Like this whole time, it was just the introduction.
Yeah.
But being in New York Fashion Week, and not only that, these are people who's been in this business for 20 and 30 years at a time, and they're talking to me like with respect. And it's like, oh my, like the production team, they're like, Avee, what are you going to do? And one of the PR guys for the production, he's like, oh, I can't wait for that leather jacket to drop. I'm like, what jacket is he talking? Oh, you're talking about from another collaboration. Like for them to for their eyes to be on me just made me feel like, okay, I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
And it was just a beautiful experience. And not only that, to have my models who, mind you, been friends with them since like middle school and high school, to also have them a part of this it was just a beautiful milestone. I'm still in awe of it. I still have pictures I didn't even post yet.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's always a great feeling, especially as you're navigating, like you're starting something from the ground up.
Yeah.
When you get that outside validation, because I feel like a lot of times, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like you try to seek validation from the people closest to you, and they don't necessarily support you all the way. So then when you get that moment of validation, like New York Fashion Week,
Yes.
and people that from across the world know about what you're building, that has to be an amazing feeling.
It's when I say it, it's a different amount of validation because it's not. I feel like when it comes from your peers or just like the public, it's like it comes and goes. It's like a hit of dopamine. Like, congratulations, okay, thanks. But for people in your actual industry to recognize you, that's like the beginning of a household name. Like that's the beginning of legacy, and it's like, okay. At times I'm not gonna lie, because I'm still an emerging brand.
Yeah.
At times I would be like, dang, I need to get my followers up. How am I supposed to do this? Like I would talk to my bro, like he's an art director and a photographer, my brand Taylor. I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? He's like, and he always reminded me, we always have that conversation. As business people, you have to think about the long haul of it. Like that quick dopamine from the followers and the comments, yeah, that's good. It's great for the algorithm. But you need to get the respect of the people who's cutting the checks.
Yep.
The ones who's, behind the magazine publications, the editors, the buyers, those are the ones you need to get the respect of. So now realizing that, like I said, just with the success for a Shein PR team to be behind my back, Emily, I hope you're watching this. She was the one rooting for us. She was the one pushing for us. When I tell you, having them support me behind just all the success with Shein, and being able to position my brand in media, like you guys need to pay attention to this brand, it's just very surreal. Like I'm still sometimes, when that, what is it called? Oh my gosh, I forgot the word. But when you have that moment of like, I need to do more. What do I need to do next?
Imposter syndrome?
Yes, imposter syndrome, and just being able to reflect, like, wait a minute, I'm actually living what I want. Like I'm just in the progress of it. Sometimes when you're not living the goal, you feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to do. But having the respect of people, I won't even say your peers, people who are higher than you, respecting you, it's a divine pat on the back, I guess you could say.
Definitely. So let me ask you this. You know, like New York obviously is like one of the fashion capitals of the world. Like people, like you said, people want to be in New York Fashion Week for their brands. What do you think it would take for, I guess, like a place like Philadelphia to be, I guess, more respected in fashion, or have the brands that are coming out of Philly be more recognizable, more respected?
This is a whole nother conversation. I'm going to be honest with you. I think we've lost. I don't think we've lost because technically, Philly, we are, when it comes to fashion, we're known for streetwear.
Yeah.
We're a streetwear brand. That's one. Two, we are a soulful R&B city. No, I love hip hop. Don't get me wrong. I love rap, especially West Coast rap. I love rap. But I think we kind of we're lost in the sauce a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of focused more on trends and popularity more than, I guess you could say, stability and longevity. So I think the moment we, as a city, we don't just go to a brand who's hot. We don't just go to a brand who's popular. We go to a brand that's actually doing something for our community.
Right.
We go to a brand that's actually representing us the best way possible. Because at this time, I feel like we only have streetwear brands.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I realized it was going to take me a little bit longer, most of the other brands, because I'm not a streetwear brand. I'm a contemporary brand. So I think once we kind of stop putting each other brands in a box or just our creativity in a box, I think we can do the long haul. But we have to break out of the streetwear and the crab in the barrel mindset as creatives also. And I think that will help us. Just us staying in our own lane, but also supporting each other at the same time.
Yeah, because like speaking of like you talk about like it being an R&B city and neo soul city, that's why I'm like so surprised that a lot more like fashion or even contemporary brands haven't like made it out, because there's so many great people that have popped out. Like if we think about New York, like with the streetwear brands, you would see Rockaware on like the hip hop artists, that type of thing. So like when we come to like a city like Philly, I'm surprised that there aren't no more local brands that are being repped by like major artists or not even just major artists, just like the artists that come out of the city, because there's so many all over the world and country in general.
I think it's just going back to a lot of the artists. I'll say that a lot of the artists now, they're mainly rap that come out of Philly. They're mainly hip hop. So there are a couple of R&B artists, which is why I have the We Are the Trends campaign reflecting on creatives in Philly, not even just in Philly, like general, who who are in their own lane doing their own thing. But I think right now it's just social media has kind of conditioned us to, if you want to pop, you got to go to the people with the most followers. Yeah. You got to go to the people who has the most trendy things, even if it has nothing to do with your brand. Yeah. And I think that's kind of that's what's hurting us. Please understand, there's a R&B artist I'm connecting to now, Six Soul. He was a part of the We Are the Trends campaign. There's another person I grew up with. He's a musician. He played for Jill Scott, like he's a bass player. Tim, when I tell you he be at Ruth Chris he be everywhere. Yeah. I mean, be everywhere. But it's not hip hop, so a lot of people aren't like paying attention to them, but they're respected in the industry. But I think right now we just need to connect to those that make sense with us. Yeah. And like I said, right now, unfortunately, I don't really know a lot of artists who are in neo soul and R&B at the time. If I could connect to Masego or Sir or TDE or something, absolutely. But if I could connect to them, then absolutely. But trying to start it within our city, I think we're too scared, because there are people I listen to who are rapping. Girl, you need first of all, you need to be singing gospel. You need to be singing R&B. This not even, why are you doing it? Why are you on a trap beat? This doesn't even make sense. This don't even fit your image. But when you follow the trends, you kind of get lost in the stalls, and that goes for music as well. Yeah.
So how do you navigate? I guess like I know we talked a little bit about just like your approach to like the copy and paste things of that nature, but like with the shift from platform to platform, Instagram was like the big thing. Now TikTok is the big thing that everybody's pushing their brands on. You got to be on that platform. How hard is it for you to like still stay authentic and not get caught up in like the TikTok trends, trying to do like the gimmicky stuff when it comes to marketing, as opposed to like what you're planning on doing currently?
So right now I'm learning the emotional marketing. A lot of people, when people hear marketing, they automatically think social media. Right. But a lot of people don't know. I actually have a certification in PR marketing and fashion PR marketing outside of my business degree. There's an emotional aspect you have to connect. And the way as a brand you connect emotionally is your personality. But at the same time, each app from Pinterest to TikTok to Instagram to YouTube has a different personality in itself. So right now, as a brand, I'm focusing on the personality of my brand,
Right.
like very much pushing the We Are the Trends campaign a little bit more. For Instagram to connect with community and creatives and locals to be like, hey, we're not just a fashion brand. We actually care about, our work, especially as minorities.
Yeah.
It's a thing I call profit appropriation. Like brands for years use our swag, use our designs, use our inspiration to push campaigns. But once you have the Black, the Latina, the Indian model, after that they get their little check, how's that coming back in our community?
Right.
So making sure right now Instagram for me, my platform, stays business, stay community based, stay creative based. Of course we implement TikTok content and put it on there because content is content at the end of the day. But right now for TikTok, because TikTok is a little bit younger generation, and like investors and people like that, they care about TikTok, but they go on there for like recipes. They don't really care about it like that. But Gen Z, they care about the personality. They want to connect with you more. So right now on TikTok, we're using that aspect of behind the scenes and really showing the personality of like Aveeation, the team, the crew, because it's a community brand. Everyone who's a part of my brand, I've known for about over 5 years, from middle school to elementary school to high school, college. We have all come together, and they're artists outside of Aveeation also. So just showing the personality. We are very much, I say, like the Black Office. We're very sarcastic. Our personalities, like it all makes sense coming together. And right now on YouTube, we're using the platform as like a documentary base. So just understanding the different platforms and understanding the personalities and the audience of those platforms and just utilizing it the best way possible to translate your brand into them.
Tell me a little bit about your team. You said there's a few of you guys. Who's on your team right now?
Okay. So I'm gonna start with the GOAT, Taylor Mosley. He's a photographer. He's also the art director of our brand. So that's one. And from models, I'll say McKenna Kelly. She's an activist. She's also an author, but she has a platform called Basic Black Girl, Art Girl. I hope I'm not butchering that. But she focused on the mental issues of our community, and especially as women and creatives. Yes, Basic Art Girl. She has a podcast, but she's an author, but she models. She's like, I only model for you. I said, I know. And then I have my good sis, Nana. I've known her since middle school. She's fire makeup artist. When I tell you, when it comes to modeling, she's on it. So she's currently emerging into the modeling industry. I have John. He does media. He's an IRL Lumen. That's his brand. He's an actual artist, a fine art artist. He's been in the Black Boy Art Show in New York.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's
big time.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff right now. I'm very proud of him. But I'll say altogether, probably about 10 of us.
Yeah.
Like we go in and out. So like on a project, call them up. Hey, what you doing? Oh, all right, okay, I'm down. So right now, I say it's about 10 of us, and from makeup to hair. Natasha, hair. When I tell you, when she need a model for hair, she called me. When I need somebody for hair, I call her. Right. So that's just, she's been in New York Fashion Week. She's done stuff for like Shea Moisture and all that other stuff. Like, so, like I said, it's a community, but we also have our own, brands and lives outside of Aveeation.
So how's it been like you as a Black woman in fashion navigating it?
Don't even get me started with this question.
Well, let's get started.
So,
I'm interested.
So a part of my mission statement as a brand is that understanding, I guess you could say, the statistics. When we're speaking of fashion, they always like to say minorities, we are the ones who consume the most fashion. That's one. Two, when it comes to fashion, they say women, we are the highest percentage of buying. That's not a lie. That's true. As women, we go and shop. But my issue is, as a Black woman in fashion, when we're talking creative directory, because I'm also a creative director, and when we're talking creative directories for fashion houses, it's majority men. And then on top of that, it's majority non-minority men. So it's like something has to shift here. Like who's a part of these tables? Who's a part of the board? And I will say change is happening. Like even when we're talking about like Vogue, like major publications right now, is a lot of Black women and Black men sitting on the top of these magazine publications, but I think right now, as a Black woman, I would like to see more of us in the creative director spaces as far as corporate goes.
Right.
Because once you get to a certain point of your brand, you're now corporate. Yeah, you're a fashion house, but you're a corporate brand. You're no longer just like a brand. But right now, I think navigating as a Black woman is one to be taken seriously as a business, not just as a businesswoman, but just as a business partner to show them I'm investment. Like if you invest in me, I'm quite sure years from now, stocks will be up. Like you can get a good percentage. So right now, I'm kind of in a transition of, I won't say kind of, I'm officially in the businesswoman mindset. I'm no longer, like I'm still a designer, but right now I'm a businesswoman first.
Right.
Because I gotta secure investments. I gotta secure capital.
Yeah.
I gotta secure, funding. So right now it's just being taken seriously a little bit more in that aspect and really learning how to, it's just so interesting learning how to still connect to my community.
Yeah.
Just as far as my appearance, as well as still my appearance reflecting and being connecting to when it's time to walk in certain meetings, like how to carry myself as a businesswoman. So it's just finding that balance as a Black woman in fashion.
Why do you think, I guess, these fashion houses or these corporate people have that like perspective of not Black women, Black people in general when it comes to fashion?
I will be honest. I will say our lack of education when it comes to the industry. We don't have as much knowledge on the business aspect. And social media, I feel like definitely has kind of tarnished that for us also. I think as creatives, because as Black people, we're just naturally creative. It's just in us. It just flows in us. But I think the issue is majority of the time we are more focused on the trends, the creativity, the creative approach, which is perfectly fine. We need that. Like we need more of that. But when it gets time for the longevity in those contracts and the partnerships, we kind of go blank. We kind of don't really sit down and take the time to really understand percentages, understand stocks, to understand what my business value will mean in the future. So I think right now, and I'm not saying all of us because
there's a lot of people.
It's a lot of us that's in the rooms that's teaching me.
Yeah.
But I will say as creatives, when it comes to like actual fashion and emerging designers, I think that's what it is, like the disconnect of the business knowledge of it. And I'm going to be honest, I think they're enjoying that. Like they're kind of banking off of that that we don't understand. Like I'll say, for an example, during the pandemic, I'm quite sure you noticed a lot of brands, minority brands started coming because at that time we was getting, I guess you could say the Trump checks. We was getting a lot of small business loans. And we started understanding distribution. We started understanding manufacturing overseas and not working like a slave behind a sewing machine. And now we had the funds at this time to finally start buying, product and inventory and learning what it is to be a boutique and to be an online e-commerce site. A lot has transpired over the pandemic. But now it's like, oh, you own a brand, but is it sustainable?
Right.
Y'all wasn't worried about sustainability
before.
Y'all wasn't worried about sustainability. It's like, and like I said, as first generation American, being Jamaican, sustainability, like Jamaica, I see what it does. Like I completely see what it does when clothes are not sustainable. I see what it does to my family who still lives there. But it's like, it's kind of a way they kind of moved the goalposts for us because a lot of us, I feel like the pandemic definitely switched a lot for the fashion industry and they're still trying to navigate through that. But it's like, okay, we just now learned about loans and grants and now we have the money for products and now you're asking us if it's sustainable.
Right.
Go ask this big corporate brand if they're sustainable. But I feel like right now, us just balancing and learning all aspects of owning a brand, it's going to have us, I'm going to say, ahead of the game. Like even with just this recent Met Gala, they know we coming for them.
What'd you think about Met Gala this year?
I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like it.
I like some of the looks there. What are some of your favorite looks from the?
Tiana Taylor, of course. She's the GOAT. Like, first of all, I love Tiana Taylor. I've been rocking with her since Misunderstanding of Tiana Taylor, like the EP. That's how I've loved
long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
I love Tiana Taylor. Tiana Taylor, I enjoyed Doechie's look, but I feel like they could have did more. Pharrell's suit, that jacket was top notch. What's his name? The guy who was Damon.
Damson Idris?
No,
No.
no, is that his name?
From where? From what? From Snowfall? Are you talking
Yes, no,
Damson
Snowfall.
Idris?
Yes, I loved his look, but I enjoy the entrance of his look.
Yeah, when he put up in the F1,
yeah, I loved that. I loved how they did that. Who was else some of my favorite looks?
I think with Damson, that was actually like movie promo too.
Yes,
So
it was a
that's fire.
movie promo, and also Tommy Hilfiger was behind it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they kind of used that as a campaign. I was like, oh, they was smart. Whoever did the marketing was very smart. LeBron James' wife, she was in Hanifa. I thought it was Tom Brown because of the stripes, but it was actually Hanifa. Hanifa, she did her thing with LeBron James' wife. I will say Tom Brown, he ate down.
He's been killing it for a while.
He's been killing it for a while. Tom Brown, when I tell you, I love his silhouettes and how he designed. Like when it comes to just suit and luxury, he eats every time. Zendaya, although people felt like it was plain, the fact that it was playing tribute to Diana Ross, and Diana Ross was there, like I said, growing up watching Mahogany and Billy D. Williams, all that stuff. I love the look. I love the simplicity of it. But those are a couple of my favorite looks off the top of my head.
Who are some of your? I know you said Tom Brown, but what are some of your other fashion houses that you, I guess you not follow, but like really like the work that they've been doing over the last few years?
So growing up, I used to love Jeremy Scott, the creative director and designer for Masachino. I always butcher the name, but I used to love his work. So Jeremy Scott, who else? I would say Laquan Smith, more of a personal connection, like his grandmother raising him and teaching him like fashion, like a personal, because that's kind of what happened to me. But I love that he also reflects to the 90s and early 2000s for a lot of his designs. Who else? Hanifa, she's amazing. The color palette, the knits that she uses is just remarkable. Who else? And I will say, this seems like cliche, but I will say Michael Kors and Tommy Hilfiger, just for off the base of sustainability and longevity when it comes to contemporary, and how they're able to maneuver from class to class, from being in TJ Maxx to literally being at the Met Gala.
Right.
Like, I look up to them as business people, as business designers. So those are just like a couple off the top of my head.
Let me ask you this as we start to wind down. What did you think about the appointment of Pharrell at Louis Vuitton after Virgil?
I think it makes sense. I'm going to be honest. I think it made sense. And I think it was more of a personal connection for a community, because Pharrell has been around for years. Like, this man is a vampire. He's not
Called him a vampire. That's facts, though. He's been around for a minute.
He's been around for a minute. He has not aged. And I think, and I knew it wasn't going to be Kanye because he had his own brand at the time and his own situation. But I think it made sense. To see the connection between him and Virgil in the past. Yeah. That's one. And he's used to rock Off-White a lot at the time. But now seeing his vision as a creative director, and he's always been stylish. Yeah. He's like a trendsetter outside of just music, like when it comes to clothing too. So I enjoy it. I'm not going to lie. Some people don't, but I personally do. I feel like it brings Louis to our community, if that makes sense.
Do you think Ye is better off like just doing his own thing with Yeezy, or do you think he should be in the fashion house, like he could elevate the fashions? What do you think about that?
I think Yeezy needs a rebrand. I think Yeezy, outside of what he's going through, like with his mental and all that other stuff,
right?
That man is a creative. That man is talented, from music to fashion to creative directory. I will honestly like to see him back in the game for fashion. I think he can. I feel like not even just take on a fashion house of his own, but I feel like he can make Yeezy a fashion house if he really get it together. Like, I think it can be a fashion house. I feel like it could be a fashion house for streetwear, especially for Black designers. Yeah. To come under him, that would be lit.
I think so too. I think it could be like once he gets all his like personal stuff figured out, like when that time comes, I think it'll do great because he has the following.
He has the following. He has the creative approach. He understands. He has the funds. Yeah. He has the directory. I think, or even if he just goes into, and it's funny saying this because Tiana Taylor was signed to him. Yeah. Like, she kind of hopped more in her director bag for the last couple of years, and she's just now coming back out with music. Yeah. I feel like if he takes that moment to just stop with music, stop with everything, and just focus on fashion, he could take over the game for sure.
100%. Well, tell me what's next for Aveeation. What can we expect from you in the future?
So we got a lot of things planned. Not gonna spill too many beans, but like I said, now finally getting back to the creative approach.
Yeah.
Outside for 3 years, just doing tech packs and business and all
Yeah.
that other stuff. I'm finally able to sit down again and design. So I'm really enjoying this aspect. When I say the fall, it's going to be lit. It's going to be co-ed men's, and I'm finally going back to outerwear.
Okay. Okay.
Because back in the day, I used to design like trench coats and bomber jackets and all that other stuff. So now I'm actually going back to that. So it's going to be a lot of coats.
Catch me in the aviation bomber jacket.
No,
You know what
for
I'm saying?
real. It's going to be a lot of coats. It's going to be a lot of trench coats. And I'm bringing back furs.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. And we're debating on bags. So we're debating on how we're going to do bags, accessories, because that's a staple for a brand, a good accessory handbag. Trying to figure out how we're going to do that in the manufacturing, and if I want to do a collaboration for that specifically. So right now, just sorting through contracts and designs, basically, for the next upcoming. But I will say the goal for next fall of 2026 is to be in Paris or Milan Fashion Week.
It's gonna happen, manifest.
It's
gonna happen for you.
So they actually asked for us, the production team from New York. Yes, New York Fashion Week, but it costs money.
Yeah.
It costs money, and I'm just now fully recovered from New York Fashion Week, so I'm gonna take my time and we're gonna see. But that's what we got coming up so far.
That's good. Well, I appreciate you pulling up on me today.
No,
coming to the compound for an interview. Let everybody know where they can find you, so they can follow your socials, follow your business, support the best way they can.
So Aveeation.com for the site. You can go to Aveeation. Currently, we're doing the We Are the Trend spotlighting creatives right now. From Six Soul to Tim Rascal to Talented. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. But there's a bunch of dope creatives. Also, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Aveeation, Aveeation.
Well, that's all I got for this episode of the Faces of the Future podcast. It's your boy Myles. Peace.
Oh my God, is that the faces of the future?